The smell of coffee is in the air. It must be time for another episode of The Art of Struggle. Welcome to another episode of my podcast called The Art of Struggle. You can hear me rant about art, video games, movies, pop culture, CGI, the industry, and much, much more. My name is Fatai Opawoye, and I'll be your guide as we explore the world of CG, pop culture, and the people who make it all possible. Alright, today I'm going to give you guys some of the latest articles of what's going on in the industry. Let's start with Fortnite. That's been a super popular topic these past couple of weeks with all the money that Epic is making on Fortnite. So, analysts estimate put Fortnite at more than 100 million downloads on iOS alone. A report from the mobile analyst Apptopia finds that Epic's game's free-to-play battle royale title Fortnite has been downloaded more than 100 million times on mobile, roughly 5 months after its original release. While this milestone represents more mobile downloads only, what's particularly interesting here is that Fortnite reached 100 million downloads before even releasing on Android. Epic is just swimming in the gold right now. The game, which offers cross-platform play and progression for most platforms, launched on iOS earlier this year with promises of a future Android release, but a release date for the Android version has yet to be announced. Apptopia points out that this makes it the third fastest game to cross the $100 million mark on iOS, just behind Super Mario Run and Pokemon Go. The report goes on to say that Fortnite could clear 500 million in-app purchase revenue by April 2019. 500 million? Jesus. The game has, according to Apptopia's numbers, already pulled in 160 million in-app purchase revenue on iOS since mid-March 2018. That's a ridiculous amount of money just for one IP. They're gonna get GTA money with that one. Alright, in more gaming news, Monster Hunter World helps Capcom to record-breaking first quarter. Capcom has experienced its most profitable first quarter in history, thanks in part to the performance of Monster Hunter World. As shown in the company's financials for the 3 months ended June 30th, 2018, overall net sales rose by 45.6% year over year to 17.2 billion yen, about $155 million, while profits increased by 648.6% to 3.9 billion yen, which is about $35.1 million. Looking solely at Capcom's digital content division, which houses its video game operations, net sales increased by 79.3% year over year to about 13.8 billion yen, which is about $124 million. Operating profits was also on the up, rising by about 242% to about 5.7 billion yen, about $51.4 million over the same period. The Japanese developer / publisher attributed the upward swing to the performance of its worldwide smash hit Monster Hunter World, which has now sold 8.3 million units since launching on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 in January this year. Capcom said the new Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection also outperformed expectation with its solid performance and talked up the healthy sales growth of high-margin catalog titles and its growing Switch roster. Despite witnessing a record-breaking quarter, Capcom hasn't changed its forecast for the full year and still expects to see net sales and profits hit 96 billion yen, which is about $865 million, and 12 billion yen, about $108 million, when the fiscal year ends on March 31st, 2019. Well, that's good for Capcom. Monster Hunter, I mean, that game is awesome. I understand why it's doing so well. All right. Spectrum ISP is kicked out of New York for allegedly throttling online games and streams. The New York Public Commission issued a letter revoking its approval of the 2016 merger between Charter Communications and Time Warner Cable, operating as Spectrum in New York, last week, giving the ISP 60 days to submit a plan to ensure an orderly transition to a successor provider or providers. This is a big deal for the industry, as it's an issue that will likely become more prominent after the repeal of net neutrality earlier this year, which might cause internet service providers to block or limit access to content by offering paid workarounds. This is that pay-to-play nonsense, man. They're going to start throttling our stuff. The decision comes after allegations that Spectrum defrauded consumers by providing internet service that was much slower than advertised. Charter, doing business as Spectrum, has, through word of deed, made clear that it has no intention of providing the public benefits upon which the Commission's earlier approvals was conditioned, the letter writes. In addition, the Commission directed Commission Counsel to bring an enforcement action in state Supreme Court to seek additional penalties for Charter's past failures and ongoing non-compliance. That enforcement action will be filed today in State Supreme Court in Albany. The letter continues to list several reasons for taking action, stating that Spectrum repeatedly failed to meet deadlines, failed to fully commit to its obligations under the 2016 merger agreement, and purposely obfuscated its performance and compliance obligations to the Commission and its customers. The last item on the list references a complaint made in 2017 from the Attorney General Eric T. Schneiderman on behalf of the consumers using Netflix streaming services and playing Riot Games' League of Legends. Using customer complaints as well as data from Netflix and Riot, Schneiderman alleged that Spectrum falsely advertised the internet speeds customer could expect while playing for the 300, 200, 100, and 50 megabit plan, all while leasing out hardware that couldn't actually handle those promised speeds. The complaint speculates that only when customers complained enough did the ISP boost their individual connection, wanting to avoid action by the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC. Schneiderman went on to argue that Spectrum deliberately bottlenecked internet speeds for streaming and online gaming until companies like Netflix and Riot Games agreed to pay extra for access to Spectrum customers. It's already happening. It's pay-to-play business. They're already squeezing people. Again, the FCC's decision to repeal net neutrality will likely make these types of issues more frequent in the market, as users will be forced to reconsider their contracts and local ISPs and then hold them responsible. So yeah, man, this is my one of my fears is that internet is just gonna start becoming this pay to play playground where internet companies decide what you can watch. They'll speed up what they like. They'll throttle what they don't like. You know, squeeze the company, so the company's gonna have to put the squeeze on you. We're all getting squeezed out here. I don't want to get squeezed. You want to get squeezed? I don't want to be squeezed by the internet company. The funny thing is, I didn't like that AT&T bought out Time Warner. That was like the worst merger for me because I hate AT&T service. It's the worst. Their customer service is garbage. It just didn't work. Now you're adding one mediocre company with a bad company, and it's just gonna be a shit show. So I'm not looking forward to any of this net neutrality bullshit. Hopefully somebody gets in office that repeals or does away with that, because it is not cool, and it doesn't have our interest at heart. It doesn't have the user's interest. It doesn't have us as the end goal. The end goal is them monetizing the crap out of the internet. Them is monetizing the time you spend on the internet. Sites that you would regularly go to would probably cost more to get there faster. So that's not cool. For our last story, it seems No Man's Sky hit almost 100 concurrent players on Steam this past weekend. No Man's Sky hit a peak concurrent player count of around 97,000 users this past weekend, following the release of Next, an update which added online multiplayer to the game. Oh, what you guys said you would have when the game launched. Surprise, surprise. Hello Games procedural space simulator showed over 40,000 concurrent players on Steam last week following the release of Next update, which also included features like expansive base building and overhauled graphics. According to numbers polled by PC Gamers, Next didn't draw in as many players on Steam since No Man's Sky's launch, which was just over 212,000 concurrent users. But it's not terrible for a game that's seen significant changes since its original and somewhat controversial launch. They keep saying controversial launch like nobody knows that y'all promised more than y'all delivered. Like, stop doing that. Stop trying to code that shit in fanciful words. Somewhat controversial. Man, they said they were going to have all that shit at launch, and now they're just finally, after how long are they finally putting this stuff in? I'm just being objective. In addition to the co-op multiplayer and other new features of Next, the 50% drop in price of No Man's Sky is probably contributing to the higher player count as well, since the game has been sitting at Steam's global top seller list since the update launched. I think it's hilarious. I mean, you gave us these lackluster planets with these lackluster ass animals that y'all procedurally generated. Y'all couldn't really do nothing with them. You know, like, people thought they were about to get into a magical world. They went and freaking got into Davy Jones's nightmare and shit. So I don't know how I feel about No Man's Sky. The trailer looked cool. The gameplay was alright. Don't think I'll be getting back into it. Alright, I want to thank you for listening to another episode of The Art of Struggle. Let's get you guys some good old quotes to start your day. You guys know how I like to finish out my episodes with awesome quotes from awesome people. The Dalai Lama said, "Calm mind brings inner strength, and self-confidence. So that's very important for good health. Strength and growth come only through continuous effort and struggle. That's a quote from Napoleon Hill. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You're able to say to yourself, I lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along." Maddie Stepanek said, "Unity is strength, and there is teamwork and collaboration. Wonderful things can be achieved." Buddha once said, "No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path." Character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, ambition inspired, and success achieved. Helen Keller. These are really awesome quotes. I'm pretty sure I've read these before. Like these give me strength. No pun intended. But yeah. I want to thank you for listening to another episode of The Art of Struggle. I want to remind you to keep making those art games. Keep drawing, keep painting, keep sculpting, keep modeling, keep programming, keep designing, keep illustrating, keep singing, keep dancing. Because the life you want is on the other side of your struggle. Work hard so you don't have to work as hard one day. This is Ty on The Art of Struggle. You can catch me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can listen to any of these episodes on iTunes, Spotify, Pocket Casts, pretty much wherever you get your podcasts from, Anchor, Radio Public. This is Ty, signing out.